Today's episode is brought to you by Roger Brooks and his team at Strategic Investment Management. As an Austin-based fiduciary financial advisory firm, Roger and his team bring decades of experience and empathy to help people regain financial control through life's ups and downs so you can move forward with confidence.
You found us. I'm so glad you did, but I am sorry that you had to. Who are we? I'll tell you what we're not. We're not old, we're not boring, and we're not giving up. We're four mothers, all living in Austin, introduced to each other because we all share a similar tragedy. Our husbands died, unexpectedly and in the prime of their lives. So come on into our widow circle, where trauma meets humor, and we remind you that you can not only survive, but thrive. This is Every Widow Thing. Welcome, everyone. We are Every Widow Thing. We have been taking a break, but we are back.
We're back.
We're doing widow confessions today. And we put out on our social media a request for anyone who wanted to share something that maybe they're embarrassed to share or feel uncomfortable or feel guilty letting people know. And I feel like these confessions can help other widows who are possibly dealing with the same situation, but no one talks about it.
Right.
So we got your confessions and maybe one or two of our own, and I put them in this lovely vase. And what I thought we would do is just each one of us would just draw one out, and we'll read it, and then we can discuss or move on to the next one,
like depending on the content,
whatever the content is. But there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Weird shit happens, and you're not alone in it.
And we're drinking wine.
And we are drinking wine.
We are.
Yeah.
Cheers to
celebration.
We can't wait to read the weird stuff, y'all did.
It's a celebration.
We like
can't
weird.
wait to hear the weird.
We like weird.
Yeah, we're celebrating coming back. We've taken a break to be with our families, but we are back, and we are excited to get this show going.
Who's going first?
So who wants to go first?
Holly.
Go, Holly.
All right.
Okay.
For weeks after my husband died, I went through his phone and all his emails looking for bad stuff. There was part of me that wanted to find something terrible. He was a great man, but I kept thinking maybe I would find something. I think I wanted to be angry instead of sad.
I get that, actually.
I did go through his emails, out of curiosity, not necessarily because I thought there was something to find, but
Second family.
Right.
I did the same thing, but
I get that. I understand.
I do too.
Maybe I should be more worried I didn't have access to my husband's.
Even in death?
No, what happened was we were going to get one password when he died. We were getting all of that changed over because we were moving the upstairs office to downstairs. Yeah. So it was all really a big fat mess. And so it took a neighbor to help me to get into a lot of the other things, but it was a work computer. So
and they took it.
Yeah, they took it. And so I never did get to read them.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of wishing I had, but I did always kind of think about, I wonder if there was somebody out there, even though I really knew it was not true.
Or
because he emailed you from his work, you had personal emails with him, right? From work.
Mm-hmm. Not long. He was only at his new job for a month, though.
Oh,
so it wasn't long.
Okay.
What about his phone? Did you go through his phone?
I didn't have the passcode to that either.
What? But eventually you get the passcode.
How?
Well, you call Apple or whatever.
You can't do that.
Well, and this
you have to go.
Keep in mind, this was 13 years ago, and you don't have that.
So you never got access.
No.
So any pictures that he had on his phone or anything.
Everything, fortunately, was all in the computer. So all of it was there.
It was like kind of the beginning.
Ours was connected. Yes, 13 years ago. Long time ago.
I never saw Frank's phone again.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we were in a fiery crash.
Oh, and then it was weeks before you were really even coherent.
Right. I remember there was a lot of commotion around passwords. And I mean, I can still get into his email now, but it was a lot of work stuff, to be honest. I mean,
yeah.
It was a lot of work stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything juicy, as you would say.
And I love what they said about what was that last part? I think I wanted to be angry instead of sad.
Yeah, the emotional exchange that she was looking for.
Right. I understand that, especially in the grief brain early on.
Yeah, trying to find some kind of flaw.
Yeah, to deflect from the real pain.
Yeah. And the reality of losing the person that, she knew he was exactly an amazing person who didn't.
Yeah, to then
have
maybe
any skeletons.
Right, to maybe find like, oh wait, he wasn't everything that I thought. So good
Glad
riddance.
he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
thank
cool.
you for sharing that, whoever it was. I didn't put names on there.
For obvious reasons.
Right. But I mean, I thought about even putting the first name, and then I was like, for obvious
Especially if it's a different kind of name. That would.
Okay, widow confessions. When my husband died, our daughter was 6. She was our only child and a daddy's girl. My grief manifested into anger. Oh, both anger things.
Mm-hmm.
My grief manifested into anger towards her. I was supposed to be consoling her, protecting her, but instead I found myself angry that she was here and he wasn't.
Oh, well.
I didn't want to raise her without him. He was the natural parent. I had to work at it. The shame I felt for feeling that way was almost worse than the grief of losing my husband. I no longer feel this way towards my daughter, but cannot seem to forgive myself for not being there for her when she needed me the most.
Oh, wow.
That had to
That's
be
a
really
tough
tough to write. Thank you
That's-
for that.
Yeah, that's hard.
I appreciate the honesty because
Yeah.
I think that everybody, that's the reason why grief's so messy, and I'm no maid because
Right.
there is nobody does it the same, and none of it's really right or wrong. It just is, and so I'm learning to accept that when you're having that feeling, just ride through it, and that's tough though.
I wonder if maybe it's not that she didn't want her daughter to be here necessarily. It was just that she wanted her husband here to help her be a parent because she didn't feel confident
And
in her parenting.
is she like kind of jealous that the husband had
a daddy's girl?
More of a
closer
connection.
relationship?
Maybe.
I mean, honestly, it's completely different because I was grown when my dad died,
Yeah.
but there was a time when my mom had a bit of, she expressed, sorry mom, a bit of jealousy because I was a daddy's girl, and
Yeah.
it's not the same at all. But
No, but that it is kind of the same. I mean, all of
I think
these
it's kind of the
feelings
same
are-
too.
Yeah.
They're not rational feelings; they just are.
Yeah.
But they're valid because they're
Right.
there. I feel like too, a lot of people, they end up having a family and having kids because maybe they see that in their partner, right? That their partner is going to
Right.
be a great parent.
Right.
And maybe they're not so inclined, or it's
But they
harder
do
for
it
them.
for their
But,
their
and
spouse.
then the father and the daughter had this amazing connection. And then, I could totally get the resentment there. You're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't sign up for this, right? To do this by myself.
Yeah.
The good news, though, to that person who wrote in is when kids are little, I definitely yelled at my kids more than I needed to after my husband died because I had nowhere to go with my anger. And I think, you can make up for it. You can, realize that you have to get a control of yourself, and you can make up for it in the later years, especially in the teenage years when they really need you.
That's when I blew up. That's when I blew up, is in the teenage years. I literally got in one kid's face and was like screaming. And it was really more about the frustration of, why am I here by myself dealing
Yeah.
with this? This
Yeah.
is something that the dad should be dealing with. It's
Well, I think they need to
necessarily-
know we're human too. Ryder
Right.
said that the other night. He was like, because I was being hard on myself for how I was feeling about some other family stuff
Mhm.
that's hard. And he was like, but you're human, Mom. That's just part of it.
You're right. I appreciate that this person wrote in and was so real, because that's a hard thing.
yeah, that's a hard one.
And that's what she's saying, is she's struggling now with the guilt of ever having any of those feelings at all. All right, Kira.
Oh, okay. My confession is that I don't want to acknowledge my husband's death day. People are kind and want to say they are thinking about me, but I would like to get through the day not even realizing that it was the day he died. Instead, I spend the day thanking people for reminding me. I hate it. I can totally
100%
relate to this one. The first year, I think I've mentioned this in other episodes, but the very first year anniversary after Frank's death, the day of the accident, landed on Father's Day. So it was literally like the anniversary of the death, Father's Day, June 21st that year. And it was awful. And I remember every year since, I made a conscious decision to really celebrate his birthday, which is just a few weeks before. His birthday is June 11th. So that's when the kids and I kind of think about him, talk about him, celebrate him on his birthday. And then the 21st is just kind of a day that we get through. It's really not something that I try to emphasize, obviously.
No, I know.
So I can totally relate to this person.
And you were like, it's just another day. That's the hard part, right? And maybe as widows, or for me anyway, I need to be clear with my friends and family what I would like. Because like with you, Kira, I didn't want to not acknowledge because I didn't want you to think that nobody was supporting you. But at the same time, you're also like, shit, who wants to?
About it?
I'm actually not angry with I understand this,
listen,
but I'm
you
far
wanna
enough
pull my
out
hair
that
right
I'm
now.
not angry with the people that acknowledge. I mean, people were acknowledging.
No, it's so it's
Fortunately, I was on a
kinda
beach
sweet
and I didn't have a lot of
hearing-
reception, so I was kind of like,
Yeah, I got to keep picking your toes.
people are reaching out, but I'm on the beach, so I can't really answer right now. I'm too busy. But no, I'm not as like, but I get this person for sure.
I like
mean,
hearing. I do not want to acknowledge the day,
I get
but
it.
I like hearing from people because I'm thinking about it.
I don't mind if people do. I kind of wish people didn't think 13 years later that I'm still just living my best life.
Yeah, and
It's interesting. Like you kind of want things, and I've been going through some stuff this week with.
Really, would you care to confess?
Well, I did that interview with.
Yeah,
and that brought a lot of stuff up.
Sure.
And I don't know. It's just interesting. You think like, wow, it's been this long, and I don't know. Things come up. Okay, my confession.
Yeah,
This isn't that juicy though.
They don't have to be juicy. They just have to be honest.
They just have to be real.
Well, I found it interesting because I had an interview with the woman from Texas Tech that's doing like Texas Tech now. Like, what are people doing now?
Because you guys both went to Texas Tech. I'm just
Yes.
reminding our viewers
Okay.
together. And that's where you
Right.
met.
We met at Texas Tech
Yeah.
in design school. And so I Googled setup design company and I realized I closed it all down. I guess I didn't really 100% realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, it's gone. Then I found his obituary and then I was like spiraling down.
Right.
And I scroll down and I'm reading all these comments from people. Okay, this is my confession. It's been over 7 years and I never read any of the comments people put on I guess it's on
on that
funeral
online
home
legacy.com or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. I mean,
Yeah.
and I just it was heavy. It was really heavy. And
Yeah.
a lot of, some family extended family members that I don't really talk to. I'm like, oh, they were thinking of me.
Right. You
And a
didn't
lot of
realize.
Toby's colleagues
Mm.
that I was like, oh, that's so nice.
There's so much you miss in the fog, especially if it's sudden death. Like all of us were sudden death. So, I sometimes, I watched a video one time of the funeral, one time, and it took almost 11 years to do it. And I saw people there that I was like, I didn't even know they were there. Like that was weird. And then the pumpkin patch and I saw them all coming out of that. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit. But I think it's a weird feeling because it kind of, some of the people I was most mad at, they were there. I was like, okay.
Well, I know. And I kind of was,
So I have one more year to
person I
watch,
was
don't
like,
worry.
Yeah.
oh my God, I just thought they never thought of me. And they wrote this really nice message on there. But note to listeners, don't just write on the funeral home website because
Right.
I didn't read it for.
Yeah, send a note or something because you're not getting on that website.
No, 7 years later I did.
Right. But do you guys ever, this is a confession for me, I guess. Because Facebook will give you the memories, right? And so around when Hunter died, I posted something on Facebook letting everybody know. And I will go and read every comment every year. I will go through it sometimes twice. Like I will read it all
That's
once and then I'll
sweet.
go around and read it all again.
I don't think there's
That's
anything
nice.
wrong with that. And I have to
No.
remember you're 7 years in?
Yeah, it'll be 7 in October.
Thing in there, but I still see some of the old stuff and I don't know. I can't go
Mhm.
there. I do have a funny one. Y'all want to hear?
Yeah, do
Because
it.
it just based off that, what
Yeah.
you said earlier. So the legacy, y'all all know about this, but the legacy thing was funny because I did look at it and one of the guys on there, I was like, oh, he's so annoying. I worked for him at Vignette and then I go out with him.
Oh, hilarious.
Years later, y'all
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
went out
You're like,
with that
oh,
guy.
he's so
That's
annoying.
funny.
And I
now
thought he was
find him so-
adorable then.
Well, it was, and I won't get the quote right, but when we had JJ Elliott on and she was talking about her book, There Are No Rules for This, the friend of the mother who died by suicide was talking to that woman's daughter and saying, I can't bring your mom back, but I can tell you about her and I
Mhm.
can share stories. Oh, I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah.
That bring that person back to you. You know,
Yeah.
so our guys aren't going to be brought back to life, but these stories that people share are it's such a gift because it does bring them back to life for a moment. So
That's why I hate when
Yeah.
people stop talking about them
Mhm.
because people think, because you're pretty far in too, when you're 10 years, 13, people don't bring them up anymore. And so many parts of my life don't even know him.
right.
They don't. They
Yeah.
only know me as the single
that's
widow.
the thing as we go into different phases of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know.
And I don't really want to be seen as a widow anymore, as out in the world. Like I don't need them to know that I'm
Right.
a widow. I don't have the widow Tourette's like you do.
I'm still
Because I'm so far
fully
in it. But I do want them to acknowledge him and tell me stories about him.
Mhm.
And there's only a certain amount of people that know
Y'all,
him.
I had someone just yesterday who I'm not upset about it, but
Oh no.
ran into them.
Is this a people are gross situation?
Ran into them in a store and they never knew Frank, right?
Okay.
But referred to him as my ex.
Mm.
Or said
Oh.
something like,
Oh.
oh, didn't your ex, go to school
And
at
you
UVA,
grabbed
go
her
to
by the
Darden?
throat and you're like, let me tell you something, lady.
I said my late husband went to Darden. I mean,
Okay.
it's not even someone I know that well.
But hold on, what was their response when you said my late husband? Did they even understand
No,
it?
She didn't really.
That's when you
Oh,
grab
I
it
need
by
to
the
know
throat,
who this is
Kira.
when we're off camera.
I was more surprised that I made a point of correcting her.
Of course.
Whereas I feel like early days, I wouldn't have stood. I would have just let it slide. But now, for some
learned
reason,
how
10
to-
years out, I'm like, oh, no, let me clarify. Again, like,
Hurtful.
she never knew him or never knew us together and really has only met my current partner. So it wasn't that big of a deal. I was just kind of like,
But that's
Not
why
my ex.
I'm not divorced.
Right.
What are you talking about?
that's why I have widow's Tourette's. I don't want anyone to assume. Look, divorce is horrible, and I have several friends that have been traumatized by it. But that is a relationship that wasn't working.
Yeah.
My relationship was fucking working.
Yeah.
So don't ever assume that it wasn't. And that's what I also take, I don't know the right wording for this, but like take offense. If someone says, well, you're single, I really, and maybe it's because I'm still, and we've talked about this before. I don't know if it was on camera or not, but maybe I'm too attached to the widow title, but don't call me single. I'm a widow, and yes, I'm dating, but
Yeah. And by
Yes,
the way,
guys, I am single.
but yes, guys. Anyway,
and
my
you're
number is-
single, Whitney.
And I can be
but I
reached
don't
at.
like single and divorce. Those are
agree.
words that
I
don't.
don't really
fit
want to
with
be
my
any of those
story.
titles.
Right.
But I can't do
Right,
anything
well,
about it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
All
All right, let's draw,
Okay.
ladies.
all right, let's see
go.
what's in this baby. I'm feeling kind of juicy myself today.
You want some of this?
Let's
Go,
see.
Lacey.
I'm feeling juicy.
When my husband died suddenly, he had just been to the bank. Ooh, so his wallet had cash in it. For weeks, when the kids wanted money for something, I would say, go get it from your dad. Even after the original cash was gone, I would put more money in there so I could keep doing it. I'm sure my kids thought I was insane. I love this person.
I think that's amazing.
I
Go
think
get
it
it
sounds
from
like
your dad.
Whitney a little bit. I think it sounds like Whitney.
It actually
And do
was
you
my
leave the
confession.
wallet
I was
like
gonna
on
do
the
it.
dresser, like
I had Whitney
Thanks
all
a
over
lot,
that.
Lacey, for
I could
outing me.
Totally tell.
No,
See,
I
like this.
did
This
do
is
it, you
funny.
guys. It was so, and later
Well,
I
and
was
your
like,
kids were a
what?
little older too. They weren't sick. They were how old?
They were 11, 12, and 14.
So that's at an age where they knew it was you, but they loved the
but it was a
sense of-
little
Did
fucked
they ever
up.
run out? They
how
were
many
like,
cash are we
Dad
how much
got
cash are we
money.
talking about?
I
He
know,
had
I'm thinking,
literally
where's
just
that
gone,
wallet?
so there was like, I don't know,
wallet now?
$200 or something in there. I don't know. And it became like a mission for me. Like I was like, is the cash running low? I'm going to get some more cash, because it was a way for me to keep him
That's awesome.
in the picture.
Yeah.
But I'm sure my kids were like, what the fuck is going on?
Mom never
I'd be
had
like,
cash.
go get
ever,
it from your
ever,
dad.
ever.
They're
Go
in
ask
somebody's
your dad.
bedroom going, Mom's losing it. Like,
But it's funny. I think we all do. Like
we don't know anyone else that disturbed.
No joke. Hilarious.
Speaking of money, did y'all ever? So a confession I have, I don't know if it's a confession, but at one point, I mean, I went through a lot of surgeries. My parents lived with me. I didn't have very much freedom, couldn't drive for a while. But at one point, I remember the kids are all at school. I go down to the mall
Down
to buy
the mall.
some food. I just remember, I mean, when Frank was alive, it wasn't like he was stingy, but he was more like, you know,
Mr.
probably
Budgeter.
Hunter with
Oh,
the
yeah.
budget and the what. I mean, I wasn't just rolling in with like shopping bags, you know, without him being like, what's going on?
Right.
And so I remember the first time kind of going shopping and feeling like
Once he was dead.
there's nobody
and
looking over my shoulder.
Yes.
Nobody.
yes.
I just walk in my house with my purchases.
Yeah, you don't have
and
to.
I'm not hiding like a
talk to
few
anyone
in the
about
car and sneaking them in later, or you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's I don't know. It's a stupid thing, but it made me think
No,
of the
I
money.
did the same. I do the.
I
I have done the same
100%
thing.
my
And
friend
haven't you
Kelly
been
just sent a meme with a kitty cat that was like, "This is me," and it had like all kinds of bags. It said, "Go into the bedroom to hide everything under the bed," because her husband's very.
But haven't you been
tight.
with girlfriends
She's
that are
like-
like, oh, I need to text Mark and see if I can buy this? And like, that was sort of freeing.
Yeah.
I mean, just appreciating, you know, the freedom of it. Which,
Yeah.
you know, of course, you'd rather have it the other way around.
Of
You
course.
wouldn't want, I'd rather be sneaking the bags in.
Sure.
And then just walking in the door and being like, well, I guess I'm okay.
Yeah, you're like,
They call it secondary gains. So, like you, I could do whatever I wanted and not have to be like, he didn't want me to buy the dead animal rug on the floor. He said, no, I don't like that. The cowhide looks weird. And so, what did I do? As soon as he died, the week later, I went and bought it and put it on the floor.
that was
I
like,
thought, you
fake
know what?
plans.
You're not here. You making me mad because you're not here.
Yeah.
And so
Guess
that's
what I'm
why
gonna
it
get?
doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. But I was angry at him
Mhm.
for leaving me with a 6-year-old. And I was like, really? I was just getting back to my career. I was just getting back to doing the things I love. And now
So you're like, I'm going to show you and buy this dead animal rug.
that's right. I'm putting that cowhide on that floor. My life is good. For the most part, I am happy. But when grief creeps in, it makes me want to fuck it up. I lean towards bad decisions, more spending, wrong men, more drinks, whatever it takes to numb the loneliness. I like this person.
That's literally what we were.
I know.
just
I think
kinda
we've all
talking
done a little
about.
bit of all
Yeah.
of those things.
I think
I've
we've all
definitely
done that.
indulged in so many ways because you're just trying to like
Spending
dull the
money
pain.
and drinking, but
Yeah, what
more
was
spending
everybody's
money.
like go to? Like, what did you do to kind of make yourself feel better? Everybody has something. Is this
Go,
an R-rated
Whitney.
show?
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I first of all said, fuck the budget. But then the other thing is I was having fun, going out, looking for people to, you know, connect with. And
think that's kind of common for a lot of people, particularly if you've been together for a super long. I found that people that were together a super long time were more interested in that than people who it was more recent.
Right. But it was really more about like what that person is saying. What was it like?
More spending, wrong men, more drinks, whatever it takes to numb the loneliness.
Yeah. It really was more about numbing. And I had a good friend. We grew up together, well, from freshman year in high school, one of my best friends, and her husband died a year after Hunter. And we would talk and she'd be like, I'm just spending money. Like I can't stop. It becomes a weird addiction because it gives you that hit.
Yeah.
That keeps the sadness or the grief at bay for one moment.
Well, and you're kind of like, fuck it. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So
Right.
I'm going to book the trip.
Right.
And
I could
gonna,
be dead tomorrow. Right.
Spend
We've all
the
talked
money.
about the travel and taking the kids on extravagant trips.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have like Roger Brooks as our sponsor, because I believe like because when people come into their life insurance, it's a lump sum of money and he's trying to help them be careful with it because, yeah, it's pretty easy to go, you know what?
Fuck
There's
it.
no one to answer to it. I'm
Oh.
going to do the trip. I'm going to do this. And it's
that's why mine's
no
all
matter
gone.
what it is,
Yeah.
it's still more
That's what
than
I
you've
was about
had
to say.
before, right? It's more of a lump
Right.
sum than you've ever had before. So
Right.
even if it's 100,000 or whatever,
Right.
that's why I think he's there to kind of help you rein it in and go, okay, you can have a little bit of fun, but let's try to be responsible.
My financial advisor gives me that this is the trajectory. I feel like,
Trajectory.
thank you. I knew it was wrong. It's
I like
wine.
projection.
called
It's
wine.
a visual of your
Called wine,
trajectory.
guys. Yeah,
Trajectory.
exactly. I've just created a new word, trajectory. I like
Like
it. But it gives me that view
Big
of,
picture.
okay, if I keep spending the way that I'm spending, then I run out at this time or this time. So that's definitely helpful.
For me, the feeling of the void, or which in my brain I was like, I'm just feeling the void, I'm feeling the void. It vacillated between, really good things like mega exercise and eating super healthy and, that kind of thing, taking 1,000,000 supplements because
1,000,000,
a lot of stuff
wow.
had happened to my body. And so
Yeah.
I was seeing a nutritionist and I was seeing people that were like, I had 2 bowel resections. So it was like, I was like, what can I eat? What can I drink? But so for me, it vacillated between that, like being hardcore healthy and then indulging in, just, going out a lot, drinking too much probably at times, definitely, seeking some connection with men, even though you knew it wasn't really the one. You were
Real.
just kind of like, can we just have dinner and snuggle? Just things that like you missed, in your partnership.
You're just trying to
and
make it.
You're just trying to make it.
I
I
wanted
think
the
everybody handles it differently.
But it wasn't
That's
like
why
one
there's
thing
not
for
a-
me. It was
yeah.
kind of all things. And it was
Right.
kind
And
of
I think that's what that person
moving
was
back
saying.
and forth at all times
Right.
too. And it wasn't all
Exactly.
bad. Some of it was,
Really amazing.
good. Like
I
mean,
think it's
working
why you
out.
can't judge when you meet with people, but you can say, you might want to think about like, long term how that's
Putting
going to
your
make you
panties back
feel.
on.
Yeah, might want to put your panties back on when it's like, that's why we had Dr. Gofrani.
No
on
glove, no
here.
love.
Right.
It was
That's
good
right.
to have her on
Yeah,
here so that these
absolutely.
women, when they're
Not worth
making
the
that
herbs.
step, it's not worth it to be,
Right.
crazy, but
All right, everyone. We still have
Are we
some
not?
left.
I want to read one more.
All right. Kira's going to
This little
do one
skinny
more.
one right
Let's do
here.
it.
Whitney needs to go to the bathroom.
I have a small bladder, you guys.
My confessions. 2 months after my husband died, I started a 2-year affair with one of his best friends who was newly separated. It was exciting, and honestly, I don't regret it. But I recognize now that, and there's no more left.
Oh.
I recognize that. We can't talk about it.
And
Finish the phrase.
We'll end on
Well,
that.
was it the how do you say that? Say it for me.
Familiarity?
Of like feeling close to
Maybe.
the husband? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't want to date anybody for 5 years. So
I kind of like JJ's book title for this. There are no rules for this.
Yeah.
no,
There aren't
absolutely
any.
If you'd
not.
like to go back and listen to that episode.
This needs to be
JJ,
revisited,
I love it.
though, because you did something similar.
I did.
And I also, not a friend of my husband's, but I went
An
back
old
to an
boyfriend.
ex, an old boyfriend.
Comfort.
It's
some
comfort.
weird comfort
and
level.
I wish
Yeah.
I had someone comforting like that.
Yeah.
Aww.
Did y'all get that message? out
Listen,
there?
everyone.
I
Like,
don't,
Holly's
I
phone
don't
is up
regret
there.
mine, and I'm super grateful for it because we really helped each other out in a tough time.
You're grateful for that old boyfriend that came
Yeah,
back
for
with-
sure. Honestly, I'm not going to beat myself up over it.
Don't beat
And
yourself up
No.
over anything. The past is in the past.
I think you and I are cool. We're fine with the way
I'm cool
things
with it.
unfolded.
Yeah. Look, the truth is, it's just like what that other person said with the bad decisions or whatever. You get this mentality of fuck it. You're like, fuck it. I want this. This feels good. And also, in my circumstance, this person helped me navigate business things, helped me navigate children things, helped me navigate family things, because a lot of people don't know, but at the time that my husband died, I also was dealing with a lot of addiction and alcohol. Well, it's all addiction related issues within my family. And I became the point person. So not only was I trying to grieve my husband and deal with my kids, I was trying to protect my whole family and set up boundaries and become the gatekeeper that Hunter had always been. So to have another person in the mix that knew about this stuff and knew how Hunter thought,
Had some compassion for
and
you.
had compassion and love, but really what it is for
There
me,
was love.
what it was for me was that this person knew my husband so well that I felt in a way he was the surrogate. Would that be the right word? He was the substitute husband. Like I could be like, well, what do you think Hunter would have done? Or what do you think? And he would know.
Well, interestingly enough, there's a girl from Mississippi who married her late husband's best friend. I know it wasn't right away, and it's been years, but
Right.
still,
But even
I
if
don't
it was
think
right
it's
away,
I think it
I
happens
don't
all
think it's
the
uncommon
time.
that a friend comes into the
This
picture.
person-
I think it's funny. Everybody, like, I was repulsed by the thought of dating. It took 3 years. I went
But
on one date, and then it took 3 years after that. I was like, ugh, just the
Right.
thought of
Oh,
it.
I
just-
was the same way.
yeah, it's
And it
funny
was
how
longer.
everybody.
Like I was like, I'll never date.
but here's the thing, you guys, and I can only talk about myself.
and then you get over it.
I was
Yeah.
not I was not in a mindset of like, okay, let's meet somebody, let's date. It just naturally happened. I was not out looking to date anyone. It was just a connection, an emotional connection, a lot of talking on the phone, a lot of helping me that turned into something really special for a specific time frame. Who I am now would not want that person.
But think about this. You were
Sorry,
19
person.
when you got together with your husband. That's a
Right.
pretty big,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I think people, that's a big adjustment to be
Yeah.
alone for somebody who, that's why I said if it had to happen to somebody, I think I was probably the most prepared to be alone because I do like to be alone a lot. I'm a weirdo that
you
way, probably.
You had
Oh,
a
yeah.
very specific idea of who you were before your husband. I know
Yeah.
for me, and I've been talking about this with the guy that I'm seeing. I don't know who I am. Who am I if I'm not Hunter's wife? Who am I if I'm not the mother of these 3 kids that are living in my house and need me? And all of that has changed. Hunter's dead and my 3rd kid is leaving the nest.
Mhm.
And now I am a completely different, it's all different. And so being alone feels, in a way, it feels good because I need to figure it out. I want to be a whole person and I want the person that I attract to be a whole person.
And being alone has a lot of advantages.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was reminded, I thought, oh, I hate empty nesting. I hate it. Then when Ryder came home, we were laughing last night. He's like, yeah, you're thinking it might be kind of a good thing when I go back in the fall. I was like, yeah, this cooking, cleaning thing sucks.
That's hilarious.
I like to be alone. So whoever I'm with will have to understand that. I've only dated one person at a length of time, and they didn't get that. They took it as I'm pushing them away, and it was
Mhm.
really more, this is really who I am. I can be very outgoing, But when I'm not, I am done.
It's
like I hit a
interesting.
wall and I'm over.
Because the guy that I'm dating, I think may be more like that ambivert thing, and I get my feelings hurt if he doesn't want to be with me. And we're going to end on this. Being alone doesn't mean lonely. There are moments when I feel lonely and I say I'm all alone. And the truth is I'm not alone. I could call any of you. I could call my family. There are people that I could call and have someone. I'm just feeling lonely in this moment, but I am not alone. And my brain wants to make it all about you're alone and you're always going to be alone and get some more cats and da-da-da-da-da.
And social media drives
No,
that
I have no
too.
cats. And by the way, if you have
when did you get cats?
if you have cats, that's okay.
There's
But
always
my
a dog
bladder
roaming
is about
around.
to pop, you guys. So y'all can keep talking, but I got to
I'm with
go
you.
to
Okay.
the
You gotta
bathroom.
go. You got to
Thank
go.
you for
Okay.
sticking with us through the widow confessions that also took a turn into some weird shit. But
But that's what we do.
Whitney
Yeah,
has to
Whitney
pee, so
has-
we're going to
I
wrap
gotta
it
pee.
up.
We're gonna wrap it up.
This is
but,
what the podcast looks like when
Wrap
we
it
drink
up.
wine.
But look at all of
Signing
the
off.
confessions we still have.
Okay.
That we'll come back to.
So many
Yep.
more confessions. We will be right back.
Imagine a financial partner who meets you exactly where you are, acknowledging your grief and taking the time to listen, empathize, and truly understand what matters to you. Strategic investment management can help you plan a course that honors your past while embracing your future. Whether you're worried about tax implications, paying off debt, or stewarding your asset distributions, Roger's team can make a plan that's aligned with your family's needs and goals. For more information, visit www.strategicim.com or give them a call at 512-341-9898. Again, that's 512-341-9898. Tell them you heard about them on Every Widow Thing.
And now back to the show. Oh no, podcast with wine is like
All right, welcome back to part 2 of Widow Confessions.
No.
But we hope you have a
Trying
glass
to
of
get me
wine because
drunk.
it's way more fun when you have a glass of wine in your hand. Unless you're,
Or
in
not.
recovery.
I mean, you don't have to.
No, I mean,
If you want-
it's whatever you want. It's whatever you want. All right, Holly, it's your turn.
Okay. Here is my widow confession. Here's my widow confessions. When my husband died suddenly, there was a part of me that was relieved. We'd been having problems for years. Nobody knew this. My grief is complicated because I'm both sad he's gone, but excited for the life I may have now. I feel like a terrible person.
Hmm.
I recently heard from one of my friends. I was on a trip and she was talking about a widow. We both know her, but I don't know the person really well. And her marriage was not in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that'd be really hard, almost harder.
Well, how
'cause
many people do
you can't fix it?
Right. I mean, I'm acting as if we've all had this experience, but I've had at least 1 or 2 people jokingly be like, I wish my husband was dead.
Oh, that happened in the
Which is
hospital.
which is a gross
when-
thing to say, by the way.
They said that in the
but
hospital?
Okay, so when
It's
after
a little soon.
Toby's accident, after Toby died and Zach was in the hospital, a huge group of friends showed up, and some of them were going through a divorce or
Mhm.
about to or already did.
Mhm.
And they were like, why Toby? Why wasn't it my husband or so-and-so's
Right. So
husband?
it wasn't in a joking way. It was almost like, why did the good one get taken?
Yeah.
I had many, many people say that to me because they knew that I had a really great marriage. But I think that you can feel, the person that wrote that in, I think that's super brave, by the way, but you can feel relief. I suspect she was feeling relief from the conflict
Of course.
Right.
being
Not
removed from
wishing
her
him
life.
dead. Right. Yes.
Like I remember, so I feel like I remember a lot of people also saying, you and Frank had such a great marriage, and then maybe other people whose marriages weren't as strong, and they're like, it's so sad that it was Frank and it wasn't, my relationship. But nobody really feels that way. And
Yeah.
are we?
All right.
Yeah.
So is
Back
it my
to the widow
turn?
confession.
Who's next?
You
Yeah.
just went, right? Okay. So my widow confession is that I have no idea what's going on in the world anymore. I don't listen to the news. I don't keep up with political information. I have no idea if there is war or weather or anything unless it shows up on my Instagram feed. It's been 5 years since my husband died. I should probably start paying attention, but I really don't care.
I
I disagree. Just 5 years, just keep your head in the sand.
I mean, I could have written that.
I can relate to that. Like the overload of information, negativity.
It's depressing.
Other traumas
Overwhelming.
like that are going on
Yeah.
in Gaza or,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, or
Our
the
own
Ukraine.
political
It's like,
world, everything.
I felt that way for a while too. And I don't think 5 years, it's funny now that I'm at 10 years, I look back at 5 years and I'm like, oh, that was just the infancy
You're a baby.
of my, trauma and grief. Like,
Right.
oh, 5 years. That was like, I was just still crawling out of the hole. Like, oh, is the sun out? Like, I mean, it's all perspective, right?
Yeah.
But I
Don't
totally
beat
get
yourself up if you're
I
not.
think that's okay. I only keep up with the weather. I love the weather.
You do. You love it.
I think I was a weather person.
Do you look
You
at
could
it in
still be a
different
weather girl.
cities, or is it the weather in just Austin?
Is it just here? Because it's just
Well,
hot.
that's boring.
Well, it's somewhere that I'm traveling to. No,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
research.
That makes sense.
I will research if
She
I'm
loves
going
some
somewhere in a few months. What's the weather like
But
there?
don't you think that's also tied to like what are my outfits going to look like when I get there?
Well,
What's the
yeah.
packing? What shoes am I
So-
packing? And what outfits am I packing?
You're right. But if there's a hurricane,
I didn't even know about the hurricane,
I mean,
you guys.
like-
That's embarrassing.
Burl?
funny.
Burl.
you didn't know
funny.
about Burl?
No. Burl?
Well,
How
I
do you
knew
know
about it because I had
Burl?
to
Or
fly
is,
back
it,
home.
or is it barrel?
I think
don't
it's
know.
Burl. Burle. Or is it Burley?
B-E. It's
And then
But I didn't
it
even
affected
know.
my flight, so we ended
mean,
up changing it.
yeah,
because
you
of that.
encountered it.
Yeah,
So
I
you
did
were
encounter it.
disruptions.
So you
There
do
were some
have to
disruptions.
know
Oh,
about the
Houston is
weather.
still
You're right. You do
recovering.
have to know about it.
So in
What do we
honor
think
of
about-
our friends that
Yes.
sent her confession in, what should she do?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would be like her. Like, I am. I'm like, I'm not following.
yeah.
And then I think there's also that attitude early on where I was like, fuck it, I don't even care. Like, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow and I'm not going to put my stress and anxiety on this. Like, I'm not going to do it.
There are things that I missed. It's sort of funny. I will find myself, there'll be a reference to like a movie or a band
Yeah.
or something that happened on Dateline or some murder or serial killer or something. And I'm like, when was that? And it's right around,
Sure,
it's like
sure.
right after everything. It's in that like 3
That
to 5 year
window.
period that
Well,
You're
you
gone,
don't,
not
that's a
even
defense
aware.
mechanism
It was also
too.
widow brain. I mean, like
just
somebody
wasn't
wrote
paying
in
any
today
attention to
on our
anything that
Instagram.
wasn't right. Like here, my kids, my recovery and everything. But that happens to me a lot where I'm like, what year was that? Because I know for a fact I was checked out.
Yeah.
But I think that's life. And I think
Yeah.
someone wrote in today on our Instagram that they wanted to try EMDR and that they're not sleeping. And I said, widow brain is actually a scientific thing.
Mhm.
Abrupt
Trauma.
brains
Yeah.
do not like abrupt changes. But I think that it's more about balance. And like if the news doesn't work for you and it doesn't fulfill you, I feel like I have to know. It's just like a thing. I'm curious.
And this is one thing that I say about anything in relation to death of a spouse. You fulfilled your duties till death do you part. They died. So whatever you want to do next, no guilt.
You know, I'm kind of at a place, I don't know if y'all are, but I'm kind of at a place where I'm ready to take care of myself. I'm
Mhm.
tired.
Mhm.
13 years of taking care of a kid by myself. I'm just ready to.
Hey, Kira, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. Since my husband died, I have been in 2 relationships, and my confession is that I'm having the best sex of my life. Ooh.
Oh, I love this.
I had okay sex in my
Does he have a
marriage,
brother?
but now I am more adventurous and say what I want. It's been liberating. I don't tell anyone because I don't want anyone to think I am not grieving. Will you go, girl? Just shout
Yeah.
it from the rooftop.
Yeah.
Who's
I'm
that?
just going to
What
say
did you say
yay.
it was the positives that come from
Secondary, secondary gains.
Yeah.
secondary?
Yeah, don't feel-
secondary
yeah.
gains.
Enjoyed.
I think
I love the confession.
Did you see that?
What? She was like,
The secondary gain.
good for you. I mean, don't ever feel ashamed about having good sex. She said she's better at saying what she wants, which I think is
key.
having relationships later in life and just second time around, you're coming out of your marriage, maybe you lost your spouse, whatever, and you're like, I know what I want. I know what I like.
Yeah.
I know what works for my body.
Yes.
And
Yes.
good for you. Enjoy the sex.
Get it, girl.
Yeah.
Your husband is not judging you from heaven.
No, he is
Okay?
happy
He's
for
like-
you.
And by the way, you can grieve and do a lot of things at the same time.
Yay.
For one more
What-
confession.
We
Do
got
have
time
one
for
more?
one more.
I have to force myself to spend time with my in-laws. Part of me just wants to cut them out because all they want to do is talk about my dead husband. I know they are grieving, but I'm trying to live in the now. Sitting in their grief is exhausting. Wow, I just had this conversation with a recent widow.
Really? What
Yeah.
happened?
And I think it's just hard because, they're trying to build a life with their kid. They're trying to create positivity and not, and losing a child is just something I can't imagine.
Mhm.
I mean, I
And you hang on to anyone that they were close to.
right.
I can't imagine having to deal with in-laws that you maybe didn't have a connection with.
I think they're just feeling overwhelmed by it, right? Because, I mean, I don't know exactly what this person's going through, but yeah, it sounds like they're just feeling like it's a lot.
Because I've dealt with my mother-in-law.
Mhm.
My father-in-law died before Toby, and Toby was very close to his mom, and it's been hard. And I feel for her. She lost her husband, and she lost her son, and she doesn't reach out anymore. And now I kind of wish that she had a relationship with him. Even though early on I did not want to deal with her. It was like too much in the beginning, but I want them to have that connection.
Yeah, that's Toby's mom.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
Shaped
guess kind of
him.
be grateful. As hard as it is to sit in your in-laws' grief. At least they care.
Put up some
Like,
boundaries, but
yeah.
find the gratitude of having that part of your husband.
Yeah. And
Right.
it's their connection
Yeah.
to their dad. And
I think any parent who's lost a child, that's my biggest fear now.
Mhm.
is
No,
that-
I
and so
agree.
I but it's a lot to manage when you're managing your own.
So would we say to this listener, set boundaries, but have grace, and when whatever you're willing to do it wholeheartedly, I guess.
Yeah.
I think
I think
finding that balance is hard.
Yeah. Boundaries is the biggest. Like,
Don't take on
Fine.
their pile of shit, as Kira likes to say.
yeah.
Well,
Share-
just shovel your own pile before you start in on someone else's pile.
I
don't
think
have to
that's
shovel-
probably a really good idea.
Yeah.
Get to a place where you're in a good place.
Right.
And then take it in doses. It's like I told my dad when I got home, he was already texting me that my mom didn't have her necklace on. I'm the one who dropped her off.
Mm.
And I said, Dad, it's costume jewelry. I'm sure we'll find it. I will talk to you later in the week.
Mhm.
Because I need
A break.
a few days off.
and
I'm
that's
exhausted.
okay. It's just like I was just traveling this weekend with my sister's 5-year-old twins, and the flight attendant made a special point. It's like, just so you know, I need you to understand, if these oxygen masks drop,
Yeah.
you've got like 30 seconds before you pass out. You put your oxygen mask on first and then deal with them. And I was like, got it.
Gotcha.
But that's a life lesson.
Yeah.
And that's where the boundaries come in. And on that note, you guys, we hope that some of these confessions have resonated with you so that you know you're not alone. There are no right answers. And
You do you.
we're all doing the best that we can. So we wish you well. Go follow us, like us on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on whatever platform.
Write a review.
Write a review. If it's Apple Podcasts, write a review. If you're listening to us anywhere else, please make sure that you're clicking that follow button. We love you. Thank you so much. Good day to you.
Bye.
Bye.
And tally ho.
And tally ho. And good day,
Good
sir.
day. Good day, sir.